Hello, everyone. This is James from eDirectory. Can everybody hear me okay? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Okay, fantastic. And this is Emerson as well, our marketing manager. And I think we're ready to get started today. We're going to talk about different revenue opportunities, revenue strategies for online directories. So welcome. We're glad you're here. And we'll run through our presentation, and at the end, if anybody has any questions, you can just pop them into the Q&A or the chat, and we'll pick them up at the end. And yeah, great. Let's get started. The first thing I just wanted to mention to everybody is that every sector and business model is different. People use eDirectories. They build all directories for all sorts of different things. It isn't just a typical sort of listing guide module. Often people do completely different things with it. And so I wanted to just mention to everybody that it's a great idea to just open your mind at the beginning of this, and don't just simply think about selling listings and all of that. Sometimes you need to be creative. So we'll talk briefly to help broaden your perspective, just an overview of media company revenue models in general. Many of these have nothing to do with eDirectory at all, nothing to do with online directories. They're just how other media companies generate revenue. And from that, it may give you some ideas what you can do with the directory. So the first thing is just general advertising, television ads, whatever. Basically, a client is buying visibility. And in the digital world, this is often sold by CPM, cost per 1,000 impressions, or cost per click, et cetera. So general advertising, that's a key way that people make media companies make revenue. The second one is listings. This is where eDirectory and online directories are very strong, just listing fees. They're often sold by a time period. And another one is lead generation, where clients pay per lead. There's many different sort of angles and models on this. Another one is affiliate fees, where somebody generates an affiliate fee from a sale that comes through your publication. For instance, a wedding dress is sold, you might get a fee for that, that type of thing. Sponsored content. You'll see more of this in many publications today, where online publications will have an article that's noted sponsored content, and basically somebody's writing an article that presents some information, and they'll pay to put that article out to get it across to the readers. The other side of this is custom content, where media companies have journalists that can go out and do studies and write content for companies as well, and then they charge a fee to write a white paper or something along those lines. So if you're able to build up your team and have a large staff of journalists, you may decide to offer custom content services where you sell a package and along with other things for that. Community, so you can create a community and then charge community membership fees. The other side of that is community research, where you might have a community, and then say some company's launching a new product or something along those lines, and you want to do research against that community, offer research against that community. And so you can do a study, charge them some flat fee, charge them $5,000 to go do a study against your community and run the study, that type of thing. Distribution, where content is syndicated. So there's two ways to do that. One of them is other companies might have content that they want to put through to your directory and syndicate there, and then they might pay you a fee for that. Alternatively, if your directory has some really great content in it, you could potentially syndicate that out or license it and give people access to the API. Give them an API key or do something else along those lines, where they get use of your content, or able to syndicate your content. Platform. This is sort of where you would set up a almost like a franchise. Maybe not. In the U.S. anyway, the government has a number of rules and laws around franchises, and so you need to be careful about those. But you may just be able to sell sort of like a franchise with basically the business model. You set up a site, or a site based on a certain geographic location or a category often works very well. And then with those, you can basically, set everything up and then sell it, and collect an upfront fee and then a monthly ongoing fee, something along those lines for that, sort of like a franchise. Events, another big revenue model. Many media companies do events, especially with the pandemic sort of winding down. These are probably going to come back. Conference attendee fees, event sponsor fees, attendee list rental, that sort of thing. Email newsletters. These nearly always go with online directories. I highly recommend setting up a newsletter of some type. And then you can monetize those via list rental, and also advertising. And when you do the list rental, it's a good idea not just to give the list, but you can say, hey, we'll rent the list, and then they give you the content and you actually send it out to that, and then send them the stats afterwards along those ideas. And one thing just to keep in mind in general about directories is really they're one of the best media business models out there, and that's because the production costs are so low to get started. A lot of it is user-generated content where the users are actually building and creating the content. And the second thing is the content doesn't go stale very quickly. So imagine, if you're running a television channel, you need to put up live video, which is extraordinarily expensive to produce. You need to have that done all the time, even if it's not live, just producing videos, and it goes stale very, very quickly. With that, the user-generated content doesn't. People may watch it more and more, but the directory content, even like a classified website, job ads, used car ads, that kind of thing. After 2 weeks, the car might be sold and somebody already got the job, and so that listing is stale. But with these online directories, often the guides, the content doesn't get stale, so it's really good. It's really a great model, and the speed to launch is very quick. A general principle I always like to bring up is think about whatever you're selling and try to package it up into some type of a recurring revenue. They often say recurring revenue is 4 times better than a one-time sale. And I think that comes from public market valuations. If you look at a company that has a great subscription business, often the stock price is 4 times higher than the similar company that just does a one-time sale. And at the end of the day, whatever you're selling, think about the value you're providing and what are you providing? Are you providing visibility? Are you providing a seal of approval? Are you providing leads? It's really about value at the end of the day, and you want to make sure that your, the people you're collecting the revenue on are getting that value. So think about that. What value are you providing? So first thing, just generally speaking, setting up pricing. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do this and think about it. I mean, I didn't go to business school, but I've read enough, and it's like there are strategies on setting pricing. You can read books on it. Often there's a model, a cost plus model, where you take your cost to produce it and then add whatever. There's another model, probably, this is online, so the cost plus doesn't really work, because at the beginning it probably costs you a lot to get the first couple, and then down the road it should be very, very high margin. So there's a bunch of different models that you can use to set the pricing. The actual pricing typically depends on the market. And with that in mind, some categories will pay more than others. So if you're in a directory in a high value industry where they're, like insurance, medical, those type of things, often the listing price will be a lot higher than, some people are setting up directory for, babysitting services, for, consumer services, haircuts, that kind of thing. The cost per sale and all that's lower. So often your price needs to go lower, and then obviously you need to sign up more. But often those models can work as well. It's easier to get somebody to pay a lower price. Niche industrial stuff often does very well. Stuff for factories, those kind of things. If somebody's selling a piece of equipment for $500,000, you can obviously price a listing to help them make that sale quite a bit higher. In local guides, even within these, if you're doing a local search type site, vacation, travel, those kind of things, there's still categories that will pay more than others. If you think about it like a bakery, you go in there, you buy a bagel, a coffee, it's maybe $10 per sale. Whereas if you get a hotel, maybe it's $150 a night. And so obviously a hotel listing might pay more than a bakery, and you may want to try to set your pricing up according to that. With that in mind, however, it's often good to keep it simple, keep things simple, and just, especially when you're getting started, and just, kind of do sort of flat pricing across. However, with that, we do recommend doing different levels for the pricing. You can if you have a very large directory, you can segment it up. The reason you set different pricing is because what you're trying to do is maximize your revenue, and some of your clients have a lot more budget than others. And so you want to segment the market accordingly to, to collect the most. It's like an airplane has a first class traveler and, the regular economy seating. The first class may go for 2-3 times what the regular economy is. Is it that much better? Obviously not. It's an inflated price. But the business travelers, the people in the first class, have the money to spend, so you want to collect that as best you can. So with that in mind, but also keep it simple. You can set up 5-10 different levels, but just the friction that adds to the sales process is typically not a good idea. To the point, some people just set up one level or maybe 2 levels of free and a paid. We typically recommend when you're getting started to do maybe 3 levels. It's really important to have a free listing just to make your guide good, to really include everything out there in it, so that the user experience, the end user looking for something, will see all the options there. The other thing is search engines will spider the free listings, and if everything's paid, you're gonna have a lot less listings, and then the search engines won't give you, they won't spider it quite as well, and won't give you the same level of traffic. So free listings are great for the user experience, and also search engines bringing you more traffic. Then the second one is the affordable level. That's probably where you'll make most of your money. And you should think about, what value are you providing? If say somebody that bought a listing or something from you, what are their margins? How much are they going to earn from that sale? How many of those sales are you going to get? And then you can set your pricing according to that. For the affordable one, also, you want to make it where it's not just such a budget decision where it needs to go up a couple levels of command. Often, if they can make that affordable buy on just an impulse buy, $300 a year, whatever it is, $100, those kind of things often work pretty well. You'll get the sale in quick. And then the next level is the aspirational level, and there are some businesses out there that they just buy the top, and that's their brand. Like IBM, IBM doesn't run a quarter page ad in a magazine or whatever. They buy the full page. Oracle, these big companies, they need their marketing to show that they're a market leader, and so they'll do the big buy. They want the full sponsorship there, and so that should be very, much more expensive. Also, the other thing about the aspirational level is it's sort of there to provide a halo to the brand and a halo to these affordable and the free listings as well. It's sort of like the Dodge Viper, the sports car they put in the showroom to sell all the minivans, and so they put that sports car in there, and it makes their minivan look great. If you look at even Tesla, first thing they do is launch a Roadster, and that makes their cars look fast and cool, and then they start launching the regular stuff. So get that aspirational out there as well. Next, just in terms of actually setting actual dollar amount, one way to set the value is to look at what Google Ads charges. Google Adwords has tools in there. The screenshot looks a little dated, but you can go in there and figure out what Google is charging per click. And with that, go in and figure out how much traffic you can bring And then you have a great sales pitch. Hey, listen, if you bought this kind of traffic on Google per month, that's going to cost you $800 a month. We're going to do this for you for 300. That kind of thing works really great to estimate the volume and set your pricing accordingly. Monthly versus annual pricing. Remember, you really got to provide ROI, return on investment, for an advertiser before they renew, or you're going to have churn. And so when you're a new site, getting things up and running, and it's often that churn is difficult. And so we recommend typically starting with an annual, because that gives you a full year to get things up and running, and you have time to generate a couple leads and sales and traffic and all that for people. So think about that. Annual, it's not that much harder to sell, maybe a little bit, but if you get the monthly, you're gonna have them calling and canceling if you don't have the traffic, you're not providing the leads yet. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to build that up. One other monetization thing just to discuss is beyond just selling the listings and all of that, there are other modules in eDirectory, and sometimes people overlook those. These are the events module. You can go in and set events and charge people to have events in the directory as well. We also have a classifieds module where you can do those job listings, those kind of things in there for the classifieds, and you can charge for those. And the articles, the way people typically do monetize those is through that sponsored content type of thing, where you write some type of a white paper or something around somebody's specific business model and use that there. And you can, for the author, you could just write sponsored content in there, and so it's noted as sponsored content in the article. But don't forget those other modules. They're certainly important for monetization. One other thing to mention is plugins. We have a couple plugins. There are paid plugins. You can go to the eDirectory.com site and check them out, and talk to our account rep if you're interested and want to see a demo of these. But we have an enhanced lead distribution module plugin where you can send out leads and charge for the leads if you do want to do a lead type thing. The one thing I would keep in mind with that is for that to work, you need to have some pretty good flow, some traffic flow through the directory. Although you can buy it, you can go out and bring that traffic in through paid ads and those type of programs, and then focus them into the lead forms, and then that may work pretty well for you. And then the other one that we have is iDev Affiliate plugin, which is iDev Affiliate is it's an affiliate program that manages payouts to other companies that will send in traffic and stuff for people to sign up and buy listings. So you may want to check that one out. It manages, basically it's like you need to sign up with them, and then when you have iDev Affiliate, you get the plugin, and then you put in a key, and then it'll handle paying out people that are sending in sales for you. So I want to mention those two. One other thing that often people have quite a bit of success with directory sites is bundling in other services, and this kind of goes back to what I mentioned at the beginning of this, which is think about what else you can possibly sell, and there's all sorts of things. These are just a couple ideas. Bundling in website email hosting. We have a product we're working on called Page One Sites that does this, but you can sell websites through other places as well. Wix sites, whatever. You can build them in WordPress, whatever you want to do for to sell websites and hosting. That works pretty well. One that works probably, I've seen this one work for a lot of our customers actually, is video creation service. Where you create videos for your clients. You often go out there locally, or you can have them send you pictures and maybe record a little video, and then you do the editing, put it up, and then you post it to the directory. You give it to the client, and then they can post it to their own YouTube and all of that, and then they can post their own website and wherever else, and you post it on your social media, those type of things. And that works really good, and it's a tangible item that you can charge a pretty good rate for, and it's really not that difficult to produce these days for that. One thing I'd recommend if you're doing that, with video services, often photos as well, have somebody go out and take professional photos of, if it's a restaurant or something, product photos, those type of things. But the quality is really important. So try to get at least a pretty decent level of quality on the video and all that, and the photos if you are doing that type of a service. But that works pretty well. And often people have used that to sort of get themselves up where they're, those kind of one-off services provide the initial revenue to get the directory going, to get the traffic and all of that going for the recurring revenue. Other services, ad management, SEO service, content writing, whatever else you could think of. You may have expertise that's in your specific domain, some type of a consulting package, whatever you can think of, put it together. And then you can actually go into the eDirectory page, and when you're setting up the different levels of listings, you can go in and add those items to each of the levels. So, the premium level includes video creation, and now it's $3,000 a year, but we're going to send out a crew to your place and take photos and video and all that sort of stuff. And you can get it right there on the Advertise With Us page on the directory. And then the last thing I just kind of wanted to close up with is actually to think about if you're ready to monetize, and don't put the cart before the horse. There's typically 3 phases to the directory: building content, building an audience, and monetizing. And so if you don't have any content yet, work on your directory content, put the time into it. We have another webinar I think we do that gives some tips about how to do that effectively. And then with the content is the audience, do the SEO work, etc., to build the audience, and then monetize. Obviously, once you're monetizing, you're always going to be building an audience and always be building content. It never goes away, but at least you need the basics of content typically, and some type of an audience. It's a lot easier to typically monetize. So think about those 3 phases, and if you start monetizing no content, I can tell you may be a little bit frustrated. Okay, and then power of persistence, just to close up here. It takes time, but it really is a great business model with good recurring revenue. So don't, put the time in, get things going, don't give up easy, and and enjoy yourself as you do this, because you will see things you're building and you're growing your site and things are coming together, and so I think you'll find that it's rewarding as you go. Emerson, do you have anything you wanted to add at this point? Anything additional here, or should we open it up to questions at this point?
Yeah, I would just mention about the newsletter sponsorship that you can segment for different categories you have on your website. So there's a plan of opportunity on newsletter sponsorship.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and the way you could do that is decide what categories you want to sell as sponsorships, and then in the site manager, you can go in and download specific lists in there, export certain categories of lists, and then go in and send those lists out specifically for that. Great. Okay, so we'll open up for questions. Anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? You can just pop them into the chat or the QA here. Anything at all? All right. Let's see, we got one here. We have a question. Is it possible to set up only possible listing option as annual, but give customers the ability to pay for it monthly? I think, yeah, so yeah, I mean, you could do that. I think you might need to get a contract with that, something along those lines. There are some settings in there, like, I mean, if they're actually paying monthly, you need it to be a monthly, but you may hide some of that text, change some of that text on some of the checkout pages. I understand what the idea there is. Often it's like you just kind of put the price up. Hey, it's $240 a year, but that's $20 a month, something like that. So I think you're able to change some of the text in there around that to get that to go. But if you want to bill them monthly, it kind of needs to be monthly. Yeah, I think that's that. Some of the payment gateways, I think you can actually set up subscriptions like separately through the interface, like a little bit of a manual phase. If you want to do that potentially, like I think you can go in Stripe and set up somebody a subscription in there and do it that way for that. Yeah, so I think that's the best answer I have on that for right now. If there's more questions on these that I'm not able to answer, you can send them into our support team and we'll follow up with them. It's support.edirectory.com. Okay, next question. Can you change plugins if you select them with your plan, but not end up liking them? Yeah, the plugins are actually just a one-time cost, I think, for most of them, right, Emerson? And so it's like you just buy them and then they're installed and then that's that. If you want us to remove some of them, we can do that for you. They're all pretty affordable, I think, generally speaking. And you can get a demo of them. You can get a demo before you buy them, so there's not too much risk there for that. But yeah, certainly you can take them off and that kind of thing if you need. All right. Let's see. Do we have one come in the QA here? Oh, that same question. Okay. Great. All right. Any updates on new version to eDirectory? Yes, we are working hard on new version. Planning on having it out before the end of the year. New mobile apps, all new mobile apps, rewritten from the ground up. They're going to be good. I'm really excited about that. And a bunch of we're not ready. We haven't fully made the cut yet in terms of what's actually going to be going into the version. You know, we have a backlog and then we work through priorities on it, but we do have some good stuff coming. We'll have probably in another 6 weeks or so, we'll have a better update in terms of what's going to be in the next version, and all of that will be out. So, but we are working hard. We have a team working on it, and I'm really excited about actually this next round here. Question: how to reach out to potential members in bulk, emails, social media ads, what works better? Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Typically we recommend you do both, reaching out to potential customers with email and social media ads. The difference between those two is, so these social media, you know, they're controlled by these monopolistic companies such as Facebook, Google, whoever, you know, out there. And everybody wants a cut. And so you have to pay to get your reach on social media typically. If you have 1 million followers on Instagram and you want those 1 million to see your post, they're not going to see it probably unless you actually pay to boost your post or whatever it is out there. And so that's the problem with social media. However, you know, they will give you some for free, and I'd say use as much as you can and pay for what you need to pay. Email is a little bit better because there isn't such a gateway on it. I mean, yeah, you have to get an email service to send the email out there, but they'll receive it. If the email is good quality, you'll find people read it and they respond and engage to it. So email is a great one to do, and that's why people like email instead of paying Mark Zuckerberg. But typically you got to reach them however you can, and often there's a cost one way or another of that. One thing to mention about email is these, you know, there's email services out there. Most of the big ones are pretty decent, but the real value in the email service is actually the delivery. Because what these email companies do that run your, you know, you put in your email list and send them out, they help you manage your list so that it actually goes into people's mailboxes. And so Google doesn't just put everything in the spam folder, those kind of things. And they go out and make business deals and everything behind the scenes, so your stuff doesn't get flagged. So email delivery, highly important if you're doing email. And so we recommend getting a professional service to do that if you are to do that. All right.
Just to add one another thing here, James, regarding sending emails. If you already populated your website with these companies, these potential paying members, so you can reach out to them by email, including a link for them to claim their pages, start with a free package, etc., and then start a conversation, a relationship, so you can get their attention and convert them into a paying member.
Yeah, and I probably should have spoken a little bit about that during the presentation as well. that is the core play with online directories, which is you create the listing and then you get people to claim their listing, and then over time you get them to upgrade to some type of a paid sponsorship. And so that's typically how it works. And you import everything and then you start reaching out, and you'll probably need to reach out multiple times, maybe through multiple channels, but over time it does work and you will get signups. Okay, great. Any recommended email delivery platforms that allow templates to get to? Yeah, a lot of it, I'll let Emerson respond to that one, Emerson. They're wondering about email programs you recommend. I mean, most of the like MailChimp, they're all pretty decent, right? The bigger ones.
Yes, yep. Active Campaigns, MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, all good platforms and affordable.
Yeah, and what you'll find though is that when you upload your list, they'll ask you a bunch of questions like, how did you get this list or whatever, and they'll just try to check that you didn't just buy some million listing list and you're sending it out, those kind of things on it. And so you'll figure that out. I think, yeah, the bigger platforms are good. We often, it was more common years ago, but we had people just sending email right off their own server, or finding a desktop program that would send the emails out to these lists, and the delivery typically was pretty bad. And then what happens is if you get on a blacklist, these things, then they just blacklist your IP address, and then none of your emails are getting through. And so that's why we recommend using these services there. But and typically the bigger, well-known ones do a better job at it.
And one additional tip is just to double check the technical part, just like domain verification, SPF, records, this technical part that ensures a better placement instead of the spam goes to the inbox.
Yeah, so there's a couple little technical things around. I think most of the mail services have information and help you kind of walk you through doing some of that stuff in their support. But yeah, there's a couple little technical things when you're sending that you'll see about setting your DNS record accordingly, so they know that the mail server is related to your domain. It's not a fake email and that sort of thing. Okay, let's see. Several services for email marketing. Okay, great. Somebody's promotion here. Yeah, so that's great. And what else do we have, Emerson? Anything else for today?
No, I don't think so. There's a question from Tracy Brown. If we're running any special, I'll make sure that our account executive reach out to you with some sweet deal, so you can have a conversation.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
One more question.
I had one late question come in. I had to reach out to big corporates on getting sponsorship. There's a lot of ways to do that. I mean, often for the big corporate, it's a corporate sale. And I'd recommend, if you haven't done B2B sales, business to business sales, just do a quick research on B2B sales strategies and you'll figure it out. But the thing with big corporations is there's often a decision maker and a bunch of other people involved. And the person actually making the decision probably doesn't have time and won't meet with you to approve the budget. And then there might be some other people involved that don't have ability to make the sale go through, but they can block the sale and those type of things. And so for big corporate, it's a good idea to figure out who these people are and try to meet them and understand how their organization works. And the way to do that often is to show up at events. There's often industry events and that kind of thing, and you can show up and meet a couple people, and then you sort of figure out who in the organization runs the marketing budget, and et cetera for them. What proportion of directories use claim your listing? I'd say high percentage, very, very high. I don't know what it is, but it is a very high percentage use that. Sometimes people don't actually go in and claim it themselves, but just having them up there and then you send them the email that shows them where the listing is, then they can you know, then they'll see their listing on there, and then if you call them up or contact them, they may engage with you and respond, and then you can sell it, even if they don't actually do any work themselves. And your sales rep goes in and sets up the listing and everything for you. They'll actually sort of claiming your listing. They don't actually claim it themselves, but they see they can, and then they'll engage in that conversation. So, but it's a very good strategy. Okay, great. I think that's it for today. So, can we see some examples of operating sites? Yeah, I'll see if we can get some sites together, and we'll do some showcases. Typically, sometimes people are a little bit secretive about what they're doing, but we'll see if we can get some people interested in showing how their sites and the things that they're working on. Absolutely, for that, I think that's a great idea. All right.
One other thing is that we have our Facebook community for users and enthusiasts that people share their websites in there. But I'm happy to send you by email later a few examples of real websites. But you can join the community if you are not in there yet. Okay. I'm going to post the link for the Facebook group here on the chat.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Great. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for your time today. Stay tuned. We'll have more webinars coming up in the coming weeks. And if you have any questions at all, Emerson will pop in the contact info. Don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you and have a great day.